Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another video of Islamistic.com, and as we are doing today, we'll be talking about the second article that was published on Islamistic.com, and the article was Ramadan, how to begin. So today we'll be talking about Ramadan, what is its meaning, its linguistic meaning, and what do we do on Ramadan, how do we begin Ramadan, what are the blessings of the Ramadan, how do we end Ramadan, and how do we start Eid. We'll not be talking about Eid celebration, but we'll be talking about how do we end Ramadan and how do we start Eid. So before getting to the topic, let us make things clear that Ramadan is not a celebration for Muslim. Ramadan, in fact, is the name of the month of Hijri calendar, which is a lunar calendar practiced by the Muslims throughout the world, or followed by the Muslims throughout the world, and it is the 9th month of that calendar, Hijri calendar. So, which is preceded by the month Shaban and followed by the month Shawwal. So Shaban is the 8th month, Ramadan is the 9th month, and Shawwal is the 10th month. And the first of the Shawwal is in fact Eid. Okay, so people generally think that Eid is the end of the Ramadan. No, Eid is the beginning of Shawwal, not the end of Ramadan. So we can see that Ramadan is the name of the month. But what about its meaning? What does Ramadan mean? So Ramadan is derived from an Arabic root word Ramada, which means scorching heat or extreme heat that burns down everything that is in its way. Similarly, it is believed by the Muslim that Ramadan is the month when, if a devotee or when if a follower, believer submits himself to Almighty God, then Almighty God forgives or burns away all of his sins, and at the same time multiplies his good deeds by many times, thousands of times. So this is the month of blessing, and it is also regarded as a month of bonus, in the sense that whenever we do good deeds, it is multiplied by many folds. So we'll get into that later on, but let us first of all give a brief introduction to Ramadan and how we begin Ramadan. So Ramadan is associated with many of the acts of Muslim, like fasting, worship, recitation of Quran, abstaining from evil, and inclining oneself to good. So there are lots of things that is to be done on Ramadan, and people have misconception that Ramadan is the month just for fasting or staying hungry or staying thirsty, abstaining from food and drinks. But in fact, if you see, during fasting, we not only fast or we not only stay hungry, or the fasting is not just for the stomach. The fasting goes along with our eyes, our ears, our tongue, our hands, and our feet. So they are all going through the fasting. How? The fasting of eyes it means that the eyes should not be looking on such things that is not liked by Allah. So for example, for a man, it is not a good thing to watch any other woman who is not our wife, our daughter, our mother, our sister, or our aunts. So we are not allowed to look at the beauty of any other woman who might be wife of somebody else, who might be daughter of somebody else, who might be sister of somebody else. So we should respect and honor those women instead of abusing their beauty by looking at them. So these will be the fasting of eyes. Similarly, fasting of ears will be abstaining your ears from listening to evil. For example, backbiting, listening to musics, listening to bad words, listening to bad jokes, or any evil words, evil speeches. So we should abstain our ears from such bad speeches or listening. Similarly, fasting of tongue means that we should abstain ourselves from talking evil or backbiting about others, or speaking harsh words that could hurt others, or speaking evil words, or speaking rubbish or useless things. So we should abstain from such things. That will be the fasting of tongue. Similarly, not using these hands for any evil actions like pickpocketing, like hitting others, or doing anything that can be done by hand and that is not liked by Allah. Similarly, fasting of legs or fasting of feet could be not going to the place where Allah has stopped us from going. For example, not going to the bars, not going to pubs, not going to the place where men and women intermingle together, and not going to the place of sins, not going to the place of any bad place. So not using these legs to hit others or abuse these legs uh, into such action which Allah doesn't like. So all of these things are to be done in Ramadan, and we can find this thing from one of the saying and narration of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where he says many of the people or many of the Muslims who fast on the month of Ramadan, they get nothing, absolutely nothing, except staying hungry and thirsty. So this is the matter of really concern for a Muslim, that they are fasting for 30 days or 29 days and they get nothing out of their fasting. It is because they thought that Ramadan is only about staying hungry, abstaining from food and drink. But there are lots of things that we need to think of. Our eyes are going through fasting, our ears are going through fasting, our tongue is going through fasting, our hands and feet are going through fasting. At the same time, we don't eat or we don't drink. If somebody smokes, we are not allowed to smoke, or we are not even allowed to have sexual relationship throughout the day from dawn to dusk. And all of these things go from dawn to dusk. And in fact, we should continue continue abstaining from evil actions, like talking bad, looking at bad things, using these hands for bad things, listening to bad words. So we should keep on abstaining from these things throughout the Ramadan, whether it be night or day. But at least we should abstain from food, and we should abstain from drinks. We should abstain from any habits if we have, like smoking, which is not good. And may Allah give us, guide us and help us to quit smoking if we do. And similarly, abstaining from sexual intercourses. These are to be done throughout the day. But saving your ears, eyes, tongue, hands, feet should be done throughout day and night. So this is the essence of Ramadan. It is training us for something repeatedly throughout the month, to abstain oneself from evil and to incline towards good. And the psychologists, they say, when somebody does something continuously for a long period of time, 30 days, 40 days, then that action becomes their habit. So whenever we try ourselves to avoid ourselves from evil and to incline ourselves towards good, then that becomes habit if we do it for long time. So Ramadan itself becomes a month of training for Muslim to abstain evil and to incline oneself towards good. So we are training ourselves to become good in the month of Ramadan. Okay then. So how do we begin Ramadan? Before we get into that, I just want to inform you about one more hadith. And the meaning of that hadith is something like this: that woe unto those people who could not get benefited from the month of Ramadan when it came and went, but the one did not get any benefit from it. So woe to those. So let us pray that may Allah make us from those who gets benefited from Ramadan and who makes a full utilization of Ramadan instead of just passing our time and staying hungry. Let us make full utilization of the Ramadan if Allah blesses us with Ramadan in upcoming years. Secondly, as I told you, Ramadan is the month of the lunar calendar, so we don't have predefined dates. For example, we don't know when Ramadan is going to begin in next year, like in solar calendar where they have predefined dates. We are failing to realize something here. During these periods of modern age of fitna and trials, we should try to understand that the system that we have in any field that is trying us to make us inclined towards trials and fitna, they are trying to grasp us, they are trying to bring us all together into the same place where we'll be involved in fitna and trial. For example, the current monetary system, if you see, it is completely based on interest. The paper money itself is fraud, nothing but fraud. We can discuss about paper money in coming articles, but it's just useless. It's of no use. It's just fraud. They are fooling people with paper money. Second thing, the education system. We are worried about our children regarding where to send our children for studies. We don't trust on schools anymore. The activities they have in school, the incident that we hear from the schools, they are really mind-boggling. We are worried about our children. They are not teaching children to make them a wise man or wise woman. They are teaching children just so that they can get a job in some places. So we are not getting our children being productive and creative. We are just selling our children to some companies. So the current education system is just nothing but fraud. Everything is fraud. Everything is deception. Third, at the same time, we see current technology. It is trying to bind all human beings together into a web where they can track each and every human being about on which date, what we did, which activities we did. And it is only possible if we can tie up entire human being into universal time system. And that is what solar calendar is about. To tying the entire human being into one universal time so that we can keep track of each and every activities that each and every one of us is doing. This is the main essence of solar system. So throughout the ages, throughout the history, people were practicing about lunar calendar. They used to follow lunar calendar, which had either 29 days or 30 days. So if we see the pattern of the moon, we can complete the entire cycle of the moon in either 29 days or 30 days. But there cannot be 28 days or 31 days like we have in solar calendar. So that is forceful addition into the counting of the days of the months. It is impossible to have 28 days of a lunar cycle or 31 days of lunar cycle. It is forcefully added into the system just so that they can make the number of days in a year equivalent to 365 days. And not only this, they know that the sun comes back to its own position, or the earth, when it revolves around the sun, the earth comes back into its same position in 365 and a quarter day. So they have added 1 day extra in every 4 months, every 4 years in the month of February, just so that they can exactly make the time in such a way that there is a universal time that can never be altered. So in every 365 and a quarter day, the earth is in the same position like it was last year. So the current World Wide Web is trying to bind the entire human being into common time system so that we can be tracked from anywhere in the world. And it is the blessing of Allah that Allah is telling us to follow lunar counting instead of solar counting. The solar counting is nothing but rubbish. How can there be 28 days in a month? How can there be 31 days in a month? So we don't accept it. This is not our way. This is not the way of Prophet Muhammad. So how do we begin Ramadan? How do we count days according to lunar counting? We should understand this. Being a Muslim, we should be aware of this. This is Sunnah. This is the practice of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So we should be aware of this. So what Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to do is whenever a month began, he used to count the days of the month. And after the completion of 29th evening and 29th day, please notice that I just mentioned evening before the day. So even in this state, when people are involved in solar counting, they celebrate some festivals like New Year Eve or Christmas Eve. So why do do they celebrate Christmas Eve or New Year Eve just a night before the day? Because even they are aware that night comes first, which is then followed by the day. And we Muslims have the same belief. They have left out their tradition, their culture, their belief system, but we haven't. So according to Islamic belief, according to lunar belief, night comes first, which is then followed by the day. So after the completion of 29th night and 29th day, we look into the sky in the month of Shaban. Okay, so we are not yet we have not yet gone to Ramadan yet. So we are talking about Shaban. So after completing the 29th night of Shaban and 29th day of Shaban, we look into the sky searching for the moon, which is the crescent moon, the moon of the first of the month, the crescent moon. We search for that moon, and if we are able to find the moon, locate the moon, or sight the moon after the completion of 29th day of Shaban, then we assume that the month of Shaban only had 29 days. But if we could not locate the moon or sight the moon after the completion of 29th day of Shaban, then the following day is known as Yawm al-Shak, or the day of doubt. And Prophet Muhammad told us that it is prohibited to fast on Yawm al-Shak. So we cannot assume that the month of Shaban only had 29 days because we have not yet sighted the moon. So it is compulsory for a Muslim to sight the moon. Even if it's cloudy, we can consult to nearby locations, those who might have sighted the moon, who resides nearby our location or the neighboring country, but not country so far, miles and miles away. For example, we are sighting here in Nepal and we are making the reference of Saudi Arabia. They have seen the moon, so we can now follow. No, that's not the way. We can consult with our neighboring countries or neighboring regions or neighboring states to find out if they have sighted the moon, because our the sky was cloudy here. So we wait after the completion of 29th day. If we sight the moon, and if we are not aware, we need to search for the moon in the direction of west. So if we see the moon in the west, the crescent moon, then we assume that the month of Shaban only had 29 days, and the next day will be the new month will start, that is Ramadan. But suppose if we were not able to sight the moon after the completion of 29th day, then the following day, which is the 30th day, is known as Yawm al-Shak, the day of doubt, and it is prohibited for any Muslim to fast during the 30th day if the moon was not sighted on 29th day, and which means it is prohibited to fast on Yawm al-Shak, or the day of doubt. So which means the month of Shaban is now going to have 30 days. So after the completion of 30th night and 30th day, then we again look at the sky. Even if we don't see the moon after 30th day, we still believe that the month have ended, and the following day is the month of Ramadan. Similarly, if we see the moon, or even if we don't see the moon, then the new month has begun, because the 30 days is over. The lunar cycle cannot exceed 30 days. That is the rule. That is the rule. So it can either have 29 days or 30 days, but it cannot exceed 30 days. So even if we don't sight the moon after 30th day, and 30th night is over, and 30th day is also over, so if we do not sight the moon after 30th day, even if we don't sight, the month has ended and the new month has begun, which means the month of Ramadan has begun. So many people ask me that why don't we celebrate Ramadan or start Ramadan the same day and celebrate the Eid same day? Why is there so much confusion in Islam? Actually, this is not confusion. This is the blessing from Allah to avoid those trials, who is trying to connect us into the same time system, universal time system, and trying to track us where we are, what are we doing on a specific day. And this is not possible at all. If we are following lunar calendar, they cannot. If they would follow lunar calendar, then there is no way they can track what people are going to do on which date, because there is no predefined date. We never know when will the first of the next month going to start, and the first of the another next month is going to start, or the first of the 3 months is going to, after 3 months the 4th month is going to start. We never know. We don't have predefined calendar. We are entirely dependent on moon, and that is what bothering the West. They cannot see, they cannot grasp, or they cannot comprehend of following the lunar calendar, because they will not be able to track the entire world using World Wide Web if they are following lunar calendar. And so this is the blessing of Allah for us, that we are still into lunar counting, and we are still following the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad by lunar counting, and this will save us from lots and lots of fitna. So believe me, this is our way, and we should follow it. So If you don't follow lunar counting, start it from today, no matter it be Ramadan or not. Start it and you will see that days will now be amazing for you. You will realize that nowadays many people complain that the days passes so quickly that they don't get time to do anything. It's just like 1 or 2 days, but a week has gone by. It's because we are trapped into such a time system which is interconnecting us with so many things that we don't realize that our days are going so fast. But if we get back to our time system, lunar counting, we will see the barakah on the counting of the days. You'll see the barakah on the day that we spend, and you will see your days are now, you have lots and lots of time. You have saved a lot of time to do lots and lots of things. So I would like to appeal to all of my Muslim brothers and sisters to get back into lunar counting. Yes, in some cases we are bound to follow the solar counting, but in order to count the ages of your kids, in order to count the days remained for the festivals, in order to find out what is the next, when does the next first of the month begin, please, I recommend you to get back to your lunar counting. So this is how we begin the Ramadan. So once we have sighted the moon of Ramadan, the month of Ramadan, the Ramadan has begun. So we start our extra prayers, we start our extra worship, we start the recitation of Quran. So there are few things that we need to know that Allah told in Quran about the sighting of the moon. There is an ayah in Surah Baqarah of the Quran where Allah mentions, there's a phrase in the Quran which says فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ, which means for those who have identified their evidence for the month, for those who have found their evidence for the month. And what is the evidence? The evidence here is not the announcement of Saudi government. No. The evidence here is not the announcement of US government, or the evidence here is not the predefined calendar in our wall. No. The evidence here Allah is talking about is sighting of the moon. And if you look at the phrase that Allah uses, it says فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ, for those who have found their evidence, which means Allah is not talking to the entire world. Allah is talking about those people who have found their evidence or who have sighted the moon. So only for those people Ramadan has begun, and for rest of the world we still need to wait for the moon. And if we didn't, then after the completion of 30th day, then we can begin the new month. So here even Allah says in the Quran, فَمَنْ شَهِدَ مِنْكُمُ الشَّهْرَ, for those who have found their evidence for the month. Okay, so this is, we need to understand that if we cannot pray even the Dhuhr Salah all together throughout the world, if you see, if I just call my friend in the US and say I just prayed Dhuhr, and they will say I'm sleeping right now, don't disturb me. So we can see here that we cannot even pray Dhuhr Salah or Fajr Salah or Isha Salah together, then how can we expect to celebrate Ramadan together? We are not following a bogus way, we are following the way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So this is the blessing, not confusing. So it's very, very easy to understand. It had never been a problem in history. We have been trapped in the modern technology so much that we find it complex, but it had never ever been the matter of complexity or confusion in the history. It's really straightforward and easy to understand. Okay, the second point that I'd like to make, the first thing we talked about how do we start Ramadan, or how, and the same thing goes for Eid. If you have to celebrate the Eid, we just wait for the moon of month of Shawwal, and if we find it in the 29th, after the completion of 29th day, we assume that the new month Shawwal has begun, and we greet each other with greetings of Eid. But if you could not find the moon, sight the moon after the completion of 29th night, then we wait for one more day to finish, that is 30th day. And even if we don't see the moon after 30th day, we assume that the next day is Eid. The same ruling goes for every month. That was the first point I'd like to make regarding the starting of the Ramadan and starting of any month, lunar counting. The second thing that we need to be aware about Ramadan is this is the month when Allah sent down Quran for the humanity. It is mentioned in Surah Qadr. Inna, after A'udhu Billahi Minash Shaitanir Rajim, Inna anzalnahu fi laylatil qadr. It is the night of Qadr when Allah sent down His revelation. or Quran. It was the night of Qadr, when Prophet Muhammad first time received the revelation from Archangel Gabriel or Jibril alayhi salam. So it was the month of Ramadan, and it was the night of Qadr, night of the power. So Qadr in Arabic means power. So there's a night in the month of Ramadan which is referred to as Laylatul Qadr. We'll talk about that soon. And in that night, Quran was sent down to our world, from the world of angels, from Lawh Mahfuz, from Allah to our universe, that is in this heaven where we are residing. So Quran was sent down on Laylatul Qadr, and from the first heaven, Angel Gabriel or Archangel Gabriel, with bits and pieces of Quran revealed as per context, as per scenario, to Prophet Muhammad in 23 years. So it was on the Laylatul Qadr Prophet Muhammad first received his revelation, and the Quran was sent down to this heaven of ours. So we should understand that there is direct relationship of Quran and Ramadan. Point number one. At the same time, we can find some references that not only Quran, most of all of the scriptures that Allah revealed were sent down on Ramadan. Torah was sent down on Ramadan, Injil was sent down on Ramadan, Jabur was sent down on Ramadan, and Quran is also sent down on Ramadan. So not only Quran, the message of Allah or the wahi of Allah is directly associated with the month of Ramadan. So this month we should incline ourselves in understanding the book of Allah, understanding the revelation of Allah, understanding Quran or reading Quran, reciting Quran, following the Quran, and knowing its background, knowing the scenario. So we should incline ourselves in understanding Quran properly and implement the Quran into our lives. We should ponder upon our actions and see how much we are into Quran. Are we living the Quran, or are we just following it as a tradition? So this is the month to ponder upon. And Prophet Muhammad it is reported that Jibril alayhi salam used to visit Prophet Muhammad every month. So if you are not understanding Jibril alayhi salam, I'm referring to Archangel Gabriel. So Jibril alayhi salam used to visit Prophet Muhammad every Ramadan and recite to him the Quran. And Prophet Muhammad also used to recite him the Quran. And it was the month when the Quran was rearranged, because Quran was revealed as per contexts, sometimes random, sometimes context. So that was supposed to be rearranged into surahs and chapters. So that was done in this month of Ramadan, in the 1 month. So every month, every year, Jibril alayhi salam, or most of the years, Jibril alayhi salam visited Prophet Muhammad and they used to recite Quran to each other and rearrange the Quran. So from this narration, we can know that there is a direct connection of Quran and Ramadan. So Muslims should also connect oneself to the recitation of Quran and try to understand Quran, try to think about the meaning of the Quran, and try to implement Quran into their lives. That was the point number 2. Point number 3, we should incline ourselves to the worship of Allah and in repentance and in forgiveness, because this is the month which is reported to have be the month of blessing. If we perform one good actions, Allah multiplies it by hundreds of times and thousands of times. So we should not let a single second of this month to be wasted. So we should not involve ourselves in useless activities and unnecessary activities or evil activities. Rather, we should abstain from such activities, because Prophet Muhammad informed us, woe to those who could not get benefited from this month and the month went or passed by. So it is the matter of disappointment if we could not make the full use of Ramadan. So we should be among the one who makes the complete or full use of Ramadan and abstain from evil and incline toward goods, incline towards worship and recitation of Quran. So let us also be among them. Secondly, when we worship, we should worship for the sake of Allah, not because we want to. There are lots of people I can hear from among my relatives and from among my friends who say, this Ramadan I will decrease 10 kgs, or this Ramadan I will stop doing exercise and focus myself on namaz, and namaz will be my exercise, or salah will be my exercise. These are already destroying your Ramadan. We should be clear that our fasting is only for the sake of Allah, not for dieting purpose, not for decreasing our weight. Our Ramadan is not for exercise. Our Ramadan is not for us to be improved. Our Ramadan is only for the sake of Allah. But these things are complementary. You will get all these things. But your intention should be to please Allah, not for the dieting, not to decrease the weight, not to be healthy, not to decrease your cholesterol level. No, that is not the intention of Ramadan. You will destroy Ramadan, my brothers and sisters. So please be careful to make your intentions pure in Ramadan, that your worship should only be for Allah. So for example, if we get to a party or go to a party, or if we are planning to go to the party, then we don't plan to go there and eat some ice cream. That will not be our main plan. We will go there to eat some good food that will quench our hunger and thirst. But we don't go there for cold drinks. But yes, we'll get cold drinks and ice creams as well. So that is not our intention to go there to get some ice cream and cold drinks. Our intention is to get some biryani and some good meat, and for vegetarians, yeah, some good meal. So that is our intention. But at the same time, we get cold drinks, we get some sweets, we get ice creams. So those are complementary. Similarly, please do not make these complementary things your intention. You will get this automatically. You don't have to bother about it. You don't have to think about it. You will automatically decrease your cholesterol level. You will automatically make yourself healthy. But that is not our purpose. Our purpose is to please Allah, is to seek for Allah's forgiveness, is to make ourselves connected to Allah. That is our intention. We don't want to make our intentions wrong. Okay, so our intention should be directed towards Allah, not towards dieting and health. That is complementary. You will get that. No need to worry about it. That was the third point I would like to make. And the fourth point that we should know in Ramadan is we should also encourage our kids who are not yet let's say in the age of Ramadan, or age so that they can fast in the Ramadan. We should encourage them. So we should at least make them familiar to Ramadan. We should not think that they are too young to fast, or they are too weak to fast. We should encourage them for fasting. Yes, if they can't, let them break the fast in the middle of the fasting, because they have not yet reached into the age for the accountability. But let us encourage them, let us involve them in iftar. At the same time, we should also take care about our relatives. We often cook good foods at our home. We should think that let our fasting begin with those people, or let our breaking of the fast begin with those people who don't have enough capability of making good food at their homes, or even food at their homes. So as a Muslim, you should also be conscious, whether it be Muslim, whether it be non-Muslim. If your neighbor is a Muslim or non-Muslim, make sure you take care of those. Even it be a single bite or small amount of food, share with your neighbor, because a person cannot be a Muslim who sleeps full stomach and his neighbor is, or her neighbor is, hungry. So we should take care. So we are fasting for the sake of Allah. And if Allah is wanting us to share our food with our neighbors, then let's not forget about that. We are abstaining from food throughout the day so that we can cut off our diet and separate that for the neighbors, or for the poor of our society. Not to eat double or 3 times of what we eat during the time of breaking fast. No, that's not the intention. We should be eating light, because Ramadan is letting us, or allowing us, to feel the hunger, feel the thirst of those poor practically. So let's not make it something called as feast at the time of breaking of the fast. And also this month, since the good deeds are multiplied many times, it is also practiced that people separate their zakah, or the amount that they separate for as a yearly charity. We call it zakah. So it is very good practice to separate your zakah and spend to those who are allowed to receive the zakah. not just random people. Like we separate zakah and give it to mosque, give it to madrasa. This is not the way. There are eligible person for zakah, which will be talking in coming videos. So we should take those money and give it to those who are eligible for zakah. And yes, before the end of the Ramadan, make sure you have separated your fitrah, that is Eidul Fitr. We separate some amount of money for poor and hand it over to them so that they can also celebrate their Eid. And last but not least, there is a night of Laylatul Qadr, about which Allah says in Quran ki Laylatul Qadr khayrum min alfi shahr. Laylatul Qadr is better than 1,000 nights. It could be literally 1,000 or it could be many nights. Even whatever be the case, it is the night of bonus. If we worship for few minutes or few seconds, we get the blessings of hundreds of years. So don't miss that night. And about that, Prophet Muhammad told us, informed us, that Laylatul Qadr, the night when the Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad for the first time, and there is a high chance that it is in the last 10 days of the Ramadan. And in those last 10 days, there is a high probability that it is among the odd nights, that is 21st, 23rd, 25th, 27th and 29th. So we should be extra careful to incline ourselves to the worship of Allah more in these nights. And also there is a practice of ittaqaf that will be dealing on coming videos. The ittaqaf, where Prophet Muhammad used to segregate himself from his home, from his daily work and from other stuffs, and spend time in masjid, and only used to get out of masjid for his daily calls, like going to the toilets or to make wudu. Otherwise he would separate himself from his family, from his daily works, and stay in the masjid throughout the day and night, the last 10 days. This is also one of the greatest form of worship that Prophet Muhammad never missed in his life. So we should be careful of that. So these were the few points that we needed to know about the month of Ramadan. I don't want to make video too long, so I hope I covered all the topic. And if you have any concerns or any questions regarding the topic, please feel free to ask. I'll be more than happy to answer those. And if you like the video, don't forget to share it among your friends. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, don't forget to subscribe. Help us grow, help us share the message to the world. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.